Hi, I'm Mon and welcome back to Don't Tick the Box. Today we have August's Scrawlrbox for you. It's a little late as usual, so let's get right to it. As always, I'm giving you the first view. Ooh. Alright, you see already one shipping victim. A pen that has lost its cap. Let's put that back on. And since we're at it, let's see what we have outside of the package. A ubi-bol signal broad in white, which is always handy for highlights. A zig writer-for-velum with a 0.5mm and a 1.2mm. Oh, so a very fine one and a very thick one. Let's show that in close up. As you can see, a very thick boy, but not a chisel nib, which we could have had and with which I would not have been as happy. And a very fine one. And then as lastly, a splash of color with the Derwent line maker in a 0.3 nib in pink. Absolutely fantastic. But the nib is very, very, very tiny. Well, it's very tiny compared to the other nibs. Now, let's pull out the stuff underneath. First of all, we have the Scrawler zine, which I will not look into for fear of spoilers. We have this month's artwork by the artist Caparso, in theme with the Scrawler zine. There's almost no difference. And then we have some paper. No, that's not paper. You probably won't see it, but I'm going to pull it open so I can show you what it is. They are not blank papers. They're actually like a sort of coated cardboard. I was going to say cardstock, but it's even more sturdy than that. It really is like more of a board than a paper. Pretty cool. So I'm guessing we're going to get something very heavy duty if they give us something this thick and sturdy. Let's see. We got the supplies list and the Scrawler challenge this month. It's all about digital dystopia. I'm not going to look at the other side because it will contain spoilers. Although there's not much to spoil anymore because we can already see everything else that we're getting. Namely, a milk chocolate covered toffee. Alright, that sounds lovely, but I have a chocoholic for a husband, so I'm guessing he'll get this one. This month's sticker, as usual in the theme or the colors of the artwork and the Scrawler zine. And lastly, 3 one-for-all acrylic twin Molotov paint markers in shock blue, cyan black, and lagoon blue, but that's actually a green, or it looks more green to me. I'm trying to translate because it says the colors in German. For those who speak German, I will now repeat. Schockblau, Signal Schwarz, Lagunenblau. I think it's time for me to get these paint markers shaken and prepped, and then I'll see you in the swatch book. First of all, since I love them so much, I'm going to swatch the acrylic markers. First we have the fine tip, which is for an acrylic marker of this size actually quite fine. And juicy without overflowing. As you can see, the big marker is not that much thicker, but is a little juicier, so this will be very good for big surfaces. Then we have the blue one. Again, first the fine line, and then a very thick line. I do think from afar the thickness in the line is probably not that obvious, but I can feel while I'm drawing that the ink flows a little more rapidly, so it really is for big surfaces or a more thick and fluid effect. And I'm already going to say it, they have given us also a black in the other art supplies. I think I would have been happier with maybe another color in these paint markers, but I suppose we can't have it all. Then we have the writer-for-velum memory system pen. First the fine line, which is for me like the perfect line for inking and line work. Yeah. And then the thicker nib, a really bold stroke. I'm going to make a black square to test out the highlighting pen, but first my favorite in this box, purely because it's pink. I think had I been given a pink acrylic marker, that would have been my favorite, because I really love acrylic markers. Even though I don't do a lot with them, whenever I do use them, I'm really happy. Anyway, this line maker seems to do its job very, very well. It's a thin, consistent line that we get. It feels juicy without spilling ink. And it fills up a bigger area quite nicely. I was going to say without bleeding through, but let's check that before we say it. So indeed, without bleeding through. Quite nice. And then lastly, the white gel pen. Since this is cream colored paper, I'm going to check if it shows up. For me it's visible, but I'm going to assume that it's not really visible on camera. Let's check that over the other art supplies. Perfect coverage over the pink, really, really opaque. Perfect coverage over the black, again, really, really opaque. And now the paint. Well, it's not opaque because the paint isn't dry yet. Let's clean this nib. But I must say, it does show up quite well. Of course, since the paint isn't dry, it has mixed in. But it seems to me that it is quite opaque, so this will be usable as a highlight making effect over the acrylic paints. pretty cool. Some final thoughts. First of all, very happy with the supplies. As I mentioned already, I don't really know why they give us 2 blacks, because I really don't think it was necessary in this case. But nonetheless, very happy with both the blacks. They're very black, very, very dark, which I really like. Nothing worse than having a black that just fades. And also very, very happy with the paint markers. Again, it's not the color scheme that I would have wished for, but the nibs themselves and the paint itself is really, really, really nice. Secondly, I'm absolutely in love with these boards that they gave us, because I've never had a surface that handled acrylic paint markers as well as this. I'm definitely going to have to buy a whole lot of them, because they're absolutely amazing. Thirdly, though I really like the line marker that we got, I struggled a bit in getting like a really big color block out of it, obviously because it's a very thin nib and it's probably not meant to get a big color block out of it, but I did want to add a lot of pink to just balance the blue and the green that we got. And lastly, I love the gel pen that we got. I mean, all these white gel pens work pretty much the same way. I've never had a preference over one brand for one brand over another brand, because in my opinion, or in my experience, you usually get 2 or 3 really good ones, then you get a gel pen that's not that good, and then every so often, very rarely, you get one, like I got in this box, that is absolutely amazing. It worked immediately, it never faltered, it went opaquely over all of the other markers and supplies that we got. I'm in love with it. I'm just going to keep it on my person so nobody can steal it. I just love it. And with this declaration of love, let's end it here. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment if you have any suggestions as to what we can do better. And I'll see you next week. Bye.